Hey, um, here I am. Look, I am. Here I am. It's I am, and then it's Maui backwards. I know I've touched on the Maui thing before, but that's pretty cool. We're both wearing pink. And no, I didn't do that on purpose. It's pretty fresh, right? Um, so welcome back, you guys. Today I wanted to touch on a couple things I've found since I did a investigation video last, and I want to jump right into it. There's a link over there to the evidence that I'll be talking about, and then I'm going to share some more personal things if you stick around to hear it. So, um, I need to just jog my memory, so you guys have to bear with me. I'm not going to read anything for you today, but as you guys know, listen, the investigation evidence down there in the link, it tells you how Prince was sold. Every time you read about Prince, it says born Prince Rogers Nelson, 6/7/1958, better known as Prince, or it'll say Prince Rogers Nelson, better known as Prince, born 6/7/1958, blah, blah, blah. But you always see that in the majority of the articles, and there's a reason for that. It's because even from the very beginning, it was a rebranding, a purposeful rebranding of Prince Rogers Nelson into Prince. And that's why there are two investigations and all the things that we talk about. But anyway, so the first evidence that you'll see is the 6/7/58, and that we were told his name was Prince Rogers Nelson. Now, open up the Beautiful Ones book, and it shows a birth certificate for Prince Roger Nelson, born 6/7/1958. So the confusion is from the very beginning, and it's very purposeful. Again, the next identity in the evidence link is and this is really important because it goes with the new evidence that I'm going to be sharing with you in just a moment. But the second clip is the patient whose birth date is 6/7/1954, and their name is Nelson Prince. My nose tickles every time I get on here to talk. I'm so sorry. That's so unladylike. It's probably my hair. Anyway, so his name is Nelson Prince, but it's Prinxe, and his birth date is 6/7/1954. Now, this is what's important about him, you guys. In the evidence, you can see that, and I've talked about a little bit of this before about the birth date and stuff, but the other thing that you want to know is the Glasgow Eye Opening Verbal Motor and Coma Score. It's the third piece of evidence down. And if you look up Glasgow Coma Score, you guys, it is very, very obvious that this patient, this Prince Rogers Nelson with the head injury, was being treated as such, whoever it was, and the DEA evidence that was provided from Moline, because that evidence is from the Moline Fire Department. So why are they able to do this, you guys? It's not right, but I'll get to it. I want to share this evidence with you, and just so that you know how wrong it is. Now, also, the next piece of evidence down is a statement, and it says scan documents at the top. And the statement says, I know why I was in the hospital. I know what I need to do when I get home. I have a copy of this paper. So that piece of evidence to me reads as somebody who clearly has a verbal speaking problem, consistent with a head injury and a Glasgow Coma Score of 9, which, by the way, on the Coma Score scale, if you look it up, 8 is the most severe, the most moderate you can be, because 9 is severe, so 8 is almost severe, so it's pretty severe on their scale. That's what I wanted to say. Now, considering that this person, this patient, this Prince with an X, who is 61 years old in 2016, considering that they have a head injury, I included this information about opioids, you guys, because opioids are often used to treat severe head trauma. And it says, although opioids frequently are administered to patients with severe head trauma, the effects of such drugs on intracranial pressure are controversial. Fentanyl and other opiates may cause a direct increase in ICP in certain patients, although the mechanism and clinical significance of this effect is currently unknown. Blah, blah, blah. The fact is, fentanyl is used for a variety of reasons, and so is Narcan. on patients that have head injuries because it's Narcan can be really similar to the bupropion or Suboxone, which is a big part of the story as well because it's used as pain relief. It's not just for drug addicts, especially with somebody with a head injury. So there's that. So who are we talking about here? So you guys, there's the Prince Rogers Nelson 6758. The Nelson Prince with an X, who is 61 years old. Then there's Prince Roger Nelson from the birth certificate in the Beautiful Ones book. And also in the DEA Moline evidence, there is Prince Nelson. He is born 6/7/1959. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 5 different princes so far. And there's no, I can't have the words. Next piece of evidence, you guys, I've showed you before, is that the Prince Nelson, the one whose birthday was 1959, is that patient's paperwork shows him as being, he or she, as being, their vitals are listed as both male and female vitals. So there's a lot of trickery going on here, and you have to ask yourself why. Now, here's another new piece of evidence, but before I share it, it's not really new. I've talked about it in the Moline videos before, but I got some other pieces of evidence together for you. This NBC article here, it reads like this. While the closest hospital is Trinity Moline, an emergency official said that the facility is not normally staffed or equipped to handle more severe medical issues. Now, I want you to read that sentence again. While the closest facility is Trinity Moline, that's like they're saying something there. An emergency official said that the facility, that doesn't mean they were talking about Trinity Moline, because that's the way the doublespeak is. They do it in here all over the investigation. It's a trip. So said that the facility is not normally staffed or equipped to handle more severe medical issues. When contacted by NBC News, the hospital said it treated no patient by the name of Prince Rogers Nelson, the artist's full name. Another nearby hospital, Trinity Rock Island, also said it did not take in such a person. It didn't say they didn't take in a Nelson Prince or a male, female, or somebody with a coma head score or whatever. They just said such a person. It's the doublespeak. A Prince spokesperson previously said that he was treated for the flu in Moline and released later that day. The way I'm reading that, I just read 3 different stories. They want you to think that you're reading one story, but I just read 3. Now, this is the important part too. Flight records show that the same plane departed Moline at 11:57 a.m. and arrived back to the Twin Cities at 12:45 p.m. So, flight records show that the same plane left at 11:57 a.m. and arrived back in the Twin Cities at 12:45. You guys, what same plane is that? Let's check this out. Before we get to the planes, you guys, you know how they said that the closest hospital is Trinity Moline, but the facility is not normally staffed or equipped to handle more severe medical issues? Well, that's a lie. Part of the lie, because when you interview Dr. Mancha from Moline, the shift of the 14th to the 15th of April, it reads like this. It was a very busy shift, and she explained that they were treating a gunshot victim among numerous other patients. So that alone lets us know that they were at a trauma level ER. So for this NBC article to read that the way that it does, that would be false as well. Now, also, it should be noted that Dr. Mancha during the interview describes Prince as only the patient. Therefore, any comments about Prince will be described as the patient. That's what she had to say. She wouldn't even call this person Prince. So that has to do, with the identity. But the flight information I was just talking about, you guys, they can't get that straight either, because remember, they said the same plane. We're to believe that the way the story is told, Kirk, Judith Hill, and Prince get on a plane, fly to Atlanta to do the concerts. They do 2 concerts, and then on the way home, they have to do an emergency landing in Moline. Okay, so that's what the story says. And then the evidence goes on to say that the same plane departed Moline at 11:57 and arrived at 12:45. How could that possibly be? We're told through this evidence that I'm just going to share with you. Now I can't see myself. Sorry. It's because I'm reading. 1 second, guys. Now listen, Betchholt, the one pilot, he said that they that they departed Moline at 10:30 p.m. How could that be? How can NBC say what they say? And Betchholt, one of the pilots, said that his plane left at 10:30. Pilot Gallus, the other pilot, says that the plane that he piloted, a Dassault Falcon 990, departed 12:51 Eastern time, 11:51 Central time. That would be a little bit more consistent with two concerts being played, but still not consistent with what NBC is saying. So what the bump, So anyway, Gallus, he accessed a flight tracking software smartphone, and he gave that information. So I guess NBC just didn't check with him and his flight tracking information before they made that article, saying the same plane went back to Moline. But I'm not done yet. Listen, Gallus said they had been in the air for an hour and 27 minutes prior to making the emergency landing in Moline. Now, that is inconsistent with everything that the NBC article says as well. Still not done yet. Betchholt, he said this, you guys. He said they ordered a new plane because the pilots could not work over 14 hours. In the media narrative, the pilots flew from Minnesota to Atlanta, stopped in Moline, and then flew to Minnesota. So that wouldn't have them working over 14 hours. So why would they have to order a new plane? And why does the NBC article say that the same plane went back? Now, listen, Betchholt stated he never had any contact with Prince. All the conversations went through Kirk. Betchholt advised that when Prince was released from the hospital, they had to order a new plane because pilots cannot work over a 14-hour shift. We ended the interview. Betchholt's co-pilot during the flight, blah, blah, blah. He confirmed that he worked for Lifetime Fitness. Oh, sorry, that was not right. Now, Nurse Moline, you guys, in Nurse Wright from Moline, he said he had this to say. Prince had nowhere to go because the pilots had left and Prince had to wait for another plane to come pick them up. Wright said Prince, his manager, Kirk Johnson, and the female, Judith Hill, in parentheses, just waited at the hospital for the plane. Wright said his shift that night was 15:30, 4:30, 3:34 a.m., but he elected to stay over until 7:30 a.m. to continue to care for Prince and limit the number of people who had contact with Prince. Wright said Kathy Curtis came on at 7:30, blah, blah, blah. He didn't know what time Prince was discharged, but he said it was sometime after 7:30. Now, that's not all. Flight attendant Nancy, she tells us that she estimated the flight to take off from Moline at 1 a.m. No, excuse me, not from Moline, from Atlanta. Upon arriving in Atlanta, the plane was met by two black SUVs driven by two black males. Nancy thought the males were security who assisted in getting the passengers, what passengers, and their belongings off the plane and into the SUVs. Nancy indicated the same passengers returned to the plane for the return flight to Minnesota and estimated the takeoff at around 1 a.m. from Atlanta. So if they left Atlanta at 1 a.m., you got Betchholt saying they left at 10:30. You got Gallus saying they left at 11:51 Eastern, 12:51 Central. You got NBC saying the same plane departed Moline at 11:57 a.m. and arrived in Minnesota at 12:45. Now, how can they tell such horrendous lies and get away with it, you guys? It's because part of the story that they're telling is part of a story that they created. So when they tell the truth on the story that was created, it's again hidden in plain sight because it's only truth on one of the concocted stories. Uh-oh, my thingy is probably going to die. I'm going to skirt away from here 2 seconds. And I'm so sorry. This should have been plugged in. My bad. See all my books and things back there? I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I want to share some more of this with you guys real quick. I got to stay on track. So for Nancy to say that, so you have how many different flights, but the reason for that they're able to tell those stories, you guys, and get away with it is presented down below where it says second plane scenario. Now, I talked about this before, I think on the April 7th evidence video or something like that. Pardon. Kirk's phone records, they're mostly blacked out, but at 4:40 p.m. on the 14th, you can see where Kirk Johnson contacts Stephen Cagell, who is a pilot with Aviation Lifeline. And if you look up Aviation Lifeline, they're a service, aviation service that provides plane rides to people who have healthcare issues, which would put us back to perhaps the patient with the head injury. And so while they're landing one plane, they're landing another plane to cause as much chaos and confusion as they possibly can. And that's why everything is so chaotic, you guys. But why do they put this out in public for us? Well, I'll get there. We're still in Moline. So the other thing is this, you guys, not only is the identity gone to pot, right? We don't know who, what, and where died. There's no identity as far as I'm concerned. And then the flight information from Moline with the big made up story. Obviously, if you still believe that after reading and seeing and hearing this evidence, well, I'm not sure what to tell you. Then you guys, then you have the drugs, which started in Moline because what had happened was, it reads like this. Dr. Mancha said shortly after, she was approached by Kirk Johnson, who left the patient room and told her that he believed he knew what Prince took. Now, when you guys read these files, you have to understand how the doublespeak works. It's a very long sentence. They make it seem like Kirk Johnson is telling her, Dr. Mancha, but the way that they do it, her could be anybody. It's just the way grammar works. And the Bible is like that too. They twist up words like that. So you have to know enough of the background to know what you're reading. So I'm just wanted to share that with you. Dr. Mancha said Kirk handed her a Bayer aspirin bottle. Now, right away, if we're to believe Kirk had this Bayer bottle in his possession, well, it's in his possession. Anyway, he told her that, handed her a Bayer bottle and told her that after she left the room, Kirk urged Prince to tell him what he took. Do you see the wordplay? Kirk told Dr. Mancha that Prince admitted to taking one of the pills from the Bayer bottle. Mancha said Kirk gave her the bottle and asked her, could this be why? Mancha said she opened the nearly full bottle and observed the pills that resembled, that is the word, resembled hydrocodone. So important that you guys remember that. They resembled hydrocodone, not aspirin, because it was a Bayer bottle. Dr. Mancha said she sent one of the pills to the pharmacy to be identified, and it came back as a 10-325 hydrocodone. I asked Dr. Mancha if they had taken a sample of the pill or physically examined the pill for size, weight, etc. Dr. Mancha said they did not. And what usually happens if they send a pill to the pharmacy and the pharmacist identifies the pill only by the number stamped. There was no testing the pill to determine if the pill was real or counterfeit. So a doctor in an ER, the facility somewhere where she was treating a head wound, gunshot, takes a pill, a Bayer bottle, looks in the Bayer bottle, says, oh, these look like hydrocodone. Let's send one to the pharmacy to look at it. And the pharmacy looks at it and says, oh, yep, that looks like a hydrocodone, and gives it right back. It doesn't matter that they were in a Bayer bottle, almost filled to the top as per the evidence. Never mind that. Never mind that it was in Kirk's possession. Anyway, now what my point is about that, you guys, is the next piece of evidence down near the bottom is the DEA's best copy of these drug test results. These were provided in the Freedom of Information Act that I disclose on the brief video here on YouTube. I know it's hard to read, but when you zoom in on it with your phone, that's where I got it. The point is, it says this. See line 16. There is only one pill out of the random testing that they did that contained hydrocodone. The rest contained partial amounts of fentanyl, lidocaine, oxycodone, as well as oodles of party drugs like ecstasy and something called MMP. I'm not sure because it's hard to read and I can't remember. But it's right there on the top line. So the pills that they collected supposedly and allegedly from Paisley Park, I'll just use allegedly, from Paisley Park, they went, and you can see on this list items 8 through, how many ever. It says 1 tablet of such and such, 1 tablet. Well, they only tested these random tablets instead of testing them all. And the point is, you guys, if you look at it and you see only line 16 was the only one, I think it's line 16 now, I can't see. One line says contained hydrocodone. So not only were they misidentified at the pharmacy just because they said hydrocodone, Watson 325, whatever, then only one of these pills tested had hydrocodone, and not all of them had fentanyl either. Most of them only had all the other stuff. But the fact that the whole investigation fraud is based on Prince taking hydrocodone laced with fentanyl, unbeknownst to him, it's absurd, you guys. There's no prescriptions for hydrocodone. There's no prescriptions for fentanyl, which why would there be? But my point is, they have the whole world believing that he was taking prescribed hydrocodone that basically Kirk went and got from the doctor. But the stuff that Kirk's doctor prescribed wasn't even hydrocodone. It was Percocet. And then the dentist, of course, Dr. Boo, provided the Tylenol 3 with codeine. So that's a little bit off of where I want to be because I want to stay on track right here. But the whole media narrative is a lie. So now, not only that, you guys, the media alleges that the pills were taken into custody. Here on the next, it says media on fentanyl at the bottom. Blah, blah, blah. August 2016, pills marked as hydrocodone that were seized from Paisley Park after Prince's death are found to contain fentanyl, indicating that they were counterfeits. A source with knowledge of the investigation tells Star Tribune, blah, blah, blah. August 2016 is my point. You guys, the next slide down is a slide from the DEA, and it's the DEA custody date. When you look at that slide on the top left-hand corner, it says the date they prepared that is 3/14 pi, no surprise, 314, 314, the March 14th, not August 2016. They are taking these pills into custody on 3/14. And if you think that they took them into custody and then didn't run the paperwork till that long, look at the bottom, because it says it was prepared and taken into custody and blah, blah, blah. So why is the Star Tribune reporting that these things took place on August 2016 and then the DEA custody date is 3/14/17? Now, there's a link at the bottom to a bunch of this other evidence and stuff like that, you guys, because I don't always just want to come here and talk about the evidence, but I do need to let you know how absurd the evidence is so that that absurdity will drive you to listen to the rest of what I'm trying to tell you, which when my mouth is dry isn't easy to do. One of these days, I'm going to get up the nerve to come here in the middle of the night or some random time of day and be brave like now and just tell you guys how exhausting and titillating and exciting and wonderful my life is getting to come and tell this story, because it's the truth. And I need to get myself into a settled frame of mind because, like I said, once people realize the absurdity of the investigation, some people, I imagine, would say something like, well, that's, everybody knows the Illuminati killed Whitney and Michael and blah, 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 blah. People sign their souls to the devil. People die all the time. That's fine that she found all this evidence, but that doesn't mean that Prince is God. That's fine. I understand people's trepidation, and I only hesitate because I try to find the right words within my mind to make you guys understand the realness of the situation. Because the 1914 videos, the Declaration of Independence, all the things, the gematria, the numbers, the timeline, the plan, it was all a plan because it's, again, like I said, the 246 years from the Declaration of Independence, and you see all over the news, the wars, the Biden shaking Taiwan's hand, and it's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there right now, and people could be kind of scared if they're stuck in the news. But my goal is to let you guys know that it's all part of this plan, and it all goes together, because those people that you see on CNN and those skin suits, same soul, different name, they're all a part of the plan. But the plan is the plan of the creator, and that's the good news. And that's what I want to stay focused on, is because no matter how horrendous the evidence gets, I remember that he told me that, let me just go back to something. I'm always talking about when I died in 2010, you guys. And that day, something medical was going on with, I want to say, this is what I was hearing, that the one the world knows is Prince Rogers Nelson told me he is, the first man, the creator, King David. Like, we're like reincarnated in these souls. And that's why I always sing about having an angel and sing and all those things that I've talked about before. But that day, I think whatever medical was going on 7/20/2010, and you guys know that the hip surgery was in 2010, allegedly, and done by Dr. Truesdale at the Mayo Clinic. So if anybody wants to get on the ball and get a hold of Dr. Truesdale and find out when Prince, or Prince Rogers Nelson, or Nelson Prince, or Prince, who was 61 years old, had surgery at Mayo Clinic in 2010, that would be super helpful. But my point is this. When I was there that day, you guys, it was either the creator himself was, how he would sing in Love Sexy, there's no smack in my brain, how'd they keep me under hypnosis for so long, all these things that he told me, is it was a drug situation. And I think that with what I was being told, and remember from before, that he was falling ill, and that's why he had to give me this information in 2010. But the reason he made me die right there in that exact moment in time, sorry, I have to close my eyes to remember, is because his mind was free from the place where it was held captive intellectually. Because, you guys, I don't know, this is where it gets sticky. Either there was a clone of him or a twin of him, or it was part of the breakdown plan, you guys, because it's the creator's plan that he gave them this story to sell, because it's very sellable. And so from the beginning of time, he knew that he would be in the United States of America, portraying himself as Prince, because he knew that I had to hear the music in a certain way and be drawn to these certain things and be discovering God at the same time. And my point is, he had to bring me there in that exact moment in time, because it was the only time that he was going to be free enough to tell me that. And so when I was standing there feeling all bad about overdosing, he was like, don't feel so bad, because it's all for a reason. And though I can't really remember all the details, it was medical. And so some part of me, because of my other hearings, because of the other abilities that he gives me, because the creator is not just a man like people want to think of him, but there was something going on with the time, something about him getting old, or something about the others coming to get the rest of the intellectual property. And when I woke up in the spring of 2020, remembering everything that happened in 2010, well, he had told me in 2010 that I would remember in 2020, only I forgot all about it until then. So there's a reason for that. And that's because when COVID came on in the spring of 2020, and all the code words, COVID-19 and social distancing, and things started being thrown off, my brain started going back to what had been happening in 2010. So it was just as much a trip to me, you guys, as it sounds like to you, but it's the truth. So what I know now, and I've touched on before, you guys, and in the spring of 2020, well, I had to, this is what I hear. is that just like in Genesis 2:21, I believe it says that Hashem cast a deep sleep on Adam. It never says he woke up. And in the spring of 2020, it was like that deep sleep was cast upon our universe. The videos, the electrical storms, the strange writings that I started doing, the way that I started hearing the song breakdown, again, telling me to break down everything that I was hearing and do the crazy gematria and all this stuff. I did it because if it wouldn't have been for the music aspect of it, I might have been a little bit more scared. But I've seen a lot of evil in my life, so I'm not scared of very much at all. Not anything anymore. But in the spring of 2020, I didn't know what was happening, and then when the Prince lyrics, and I was listening to the Black Album songs, and I was writing down how long the songs were, and the fact that it was released at least on a temporary basis, I believe in 11 of 94, which is 1914 as well. Whatever this grotesque paranormal situation is, I don't get to remember it all. But it is just that, you guys. The plan was to break down our creator, and that's why the song Breakdown was released when it was. That's why it was played all through 2013, but not announced on Arsenio as Prince's favorite song until 3/14, which is the same date as the drugs, 3/14, because it's pi. And then on 6/22 of 2013, I believe, or 2014, they announced that they were recording parts for the breakdown that evening, which would be a trip because the song was already recorded and played by DJ Rashida all the year before. So what were they doing on 6/22? So the song Breakdown, and then you guys know the song. I mentioned it before because when I very first heard it, it made my heart ache, and I thought it was it got my attention. It was unlike any other song that was ever done by him, and not in a good way. And that is as polite as I can say it. The redundancy of the keys, the notes, the singing, it was wrong. Everything about the song was wrong, and everybody thought it was about him. I don't know what they thought, but as soon as I heard him say there's a door that you can walk through, there used to be a wall, I thought of the tree of life and the dot in the wisdom. And then I heard that scream 3/4 of the way through, and it let me absolutely know in that moment in time when I first heard Breakdown that something was going to happen to Prince, and I told my family about it. So, and I say the name Prince loosely. So anyway, back to the spring of 2020, when I started hearing the keywords social distancing and COVID-19, and they did things to my brain. I started doing all the crazy math and writing all kinds of things upside down under the lyrics and under the letters, and it was always giving me the 314 pi and telling me about 1776. I've showed you guys this. I'll make more photo albums available, but I'm done with the show and tell. It's too hard. And then just it's weird to say that words were talking to you, but turn on Sesame Street or any of the movies, and it's like the books flapping around, like they were birds, but they were books, but there was no books. It was just all being downloaded into my head. So that's how it happened. It wasn't me looking for information; it was being given to me. And I use the word telepathy because it's the only thing that I can compare it to what the world has been told. So it's like my own voice, but a different voice that I know isn't mine, and it's not an audible voice. It's just direction, and it comes from my heart and my mind because I trained myself to listen to it my whole life. But in the spring of 2020, it was like, bam! And it was way more than it ever was before. And there's a reason for that. But you guys, just a second. In the spring of 2020, when I started writing down all those words and hearing the song Breakdown and deciphering and hearing family name 1914, devil, this, that, I was writing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I got to tell you a couple things. I told you before, maybe you didn't watch the videos. I'll go slower. I in the spring of 2020, when I was doing that, I went into this trance, and I was awake for I don't know how many days on end, without like eating or drinking barely anything, and I was just writing. I was being led to do it. It was like the song "Possessed." It was like it's not of my own doing. The compulsion to do it is beyond my control. So I went and I did all that stuff, and it didn't make any sense to me back then. And what I understand now, my point is that now, when you look at the writings now, we can communicate like way better. It was him training me up to hear him. But during that time when all the stuff was going on, I would be writing like lyrics to a song. Or one of the times I was watching something on YouTube about a photographer that was doing, I talked about it before. I don't want to get too much into it, but I was taking notes, and the notes turned into someone talking to me like what I called a red witch. And the writing that I was writing was like, I can see what you're doing. I know where your hiding place is, because at the time I had all this precious writing. I didn't know what was going on. So I was hiding it in a box. And the writing that came out of my hand was like, I know where your hiding place is. And I was tripping. I put the stuff in an attic room and everything, because I knew something really special was going on, but I didn't know what it was. So, during the trance, you guys, like I said, that's not all these writings are. That's just, I have most of those put away because they're too precious. This is all research and all kinds of stuff, where I've deciphered all the album covers and lyrics and things about Maui. It's going to be a cool library someday. But you guys, then after the writing was happening, I have to call it my 40 days, because it was about 40 days that you have to see the writings for yourself, because it's not something that would come from a normal human being. And so that's how I know it's otherworldly. And so then, as I'm going through YouTube and watching these videos and learning and looking up the things that I'm hearing telepathically, like the Project Bluebeam and things about Merovingian bloodlines, I didn't know what that stuff was, but that's the kind of stuff I was writing down, and I had to figure out where it was coming from. And of course, at the same time, I was reading my Bible just as much, if not more, and deciphering that, and wrote all kinds of, one of those books is strictly on that. So, then I was watching the Grammy tribute to Prince in the spring of 2020, and I started taking strange notes, just really strange. So he was talking to me. I would watch YouTube videos and I would see things online that he was telling me that something was going to happen to him, that somebody was after him, that and that at the same time I was reading the Beautiful Ones book and noticing the birth certificates and all the Hebrew writing was coming to me. And then if you're so inclined to go watch the Temptation video, there's a lot of stuff on that video that I don't like to bring into these other videos, because it's like a subject all of its own, but that was going on too. And it all has to do with the way that when I died in 2010, that he told me that something to do with how the world was going to be put under asleep in 2020, that the COVID-19 was going to be used like a precursor to, I don't know if it was to bring awareness to me to pay attention to all this stuff, or, but also it's a precursor to, oh my God, aliens are here type thing, to see how fast the sheeple can be controlled and harnessed and put up plastic barriers between each other and be sold on a worldly lie. Only this time it was done by internet and TV. And I mean, think about it, you guys, if you never, ever, ever turned on your TV or your computer from the spring of 2020 to now, nobody would ever be told to wear a mask. Nobody would ever know there was anything. I can't diss on the virus because I don't want to get my channel cut. But how many people dies of colds and flus and car crashes and everything else? God forbid those things should happen. But they all have a time and a place. And when the COVID came on, it was like the world was put to sleep. And that's my point. But at the time the world was put to sleep, from my memory, he told me that I would be woke up from the matrix. Woke up because I would be like a ripe peach that would be able to hear, attain, and remember these things, because before that, I wasn't old enough, or there was a time and a place for everything in the way that it was going to happen. So, you guys, that's just what I've been doing. And why would our God, Lord, Creator, Savior, why would he show himself as Prince Rogers Nelson? I keep coming back to that question, because it's the one that I think people have a hard time wrapping their minds around. The answer that I remember to that is something to do with, of course, the image, how our physical vessels are just a part of the curse in this world. It's like what the Bible calls leprosy, but it's actually a skin disease. It's the skin disease. It's being in the skin because your soul is trapped in this vessel, and that's a disease in itself. And like the song, All That Glitters Ain't Gold, this is where we are, you guys. They try to tell us what's fashionable, what to eat, what to drive, you know how it goes. But me, I was never down with that. I always was looking on the inside. I don't want to be part of the false world. I don't want to be in the skin suit. So when I was in heaven, he said that way before the beginning of time, you guys, before the 600,000 souls that were at Mount Sinai, us, came into being, that he asked us all, he was like planning the world with us, and he asked us what we wanted to do, who we wanted to be, and we told him. And now we're getting our heart's desire. So I guess if you don't like the way your life is going, I would ask you to look into your heart and see if you're being honest with your life choices and honest in your prayers. And I know a lot of things are situational, because I myself, look, I'm still living and have to find another place to live. So people could say, oh, what is God doing for you? Well, everything. Because as above, so below. And there's issues that you guys don't know about, and I can't even express them to you. I wish I could. I try. It was America's turn, like I said, to have the empire, to have the creator's power, to do what they could with it. And now that 246 years is over. And during that 246 years, the 1776 Declaration of Independence, which, think about it, the Prince Rogers Nelson birthday is 6/7. It's all a big plan to break down our creator and to disguise our DNA, our godly DNA, and our souls, because our husks that I was talking about in the little short videos that we create with our bad actions have gotten so thick that the creator is just, he's back there in all the thickness and all the fog, man. And that's it was purposeful, but now that you guys know, you have to find a way to bring the light back. You have to find a way to get rid of your husks and hear what I'm saying is true, because I don't know, you guys, like, I know it hurts a lot of people, or a lot of people think it's a trip that I come here and say John 3:16 is false, that it is the trick of the world that I was also told about when I was there, because it is. It's the false idol. God said you should have no idols before me, but then the whole Bible, which was what changed in, I think, 1611 or coinkadinkly, by Constantine, taking out the book of Enoch that talks about sky people having sex with women, 6:1-6 in Enoch, it takes out all that stuff, among other things, and changes the words to sell the fact that a Jewish guy named Jesus came to take the place of God, Hashem. Like, okay, it's like they want you to read the Bible and forget that you have a creator. They want you to pray to God, but in the name of Jesus. This Jewish guy who kind of, was going around teaching a little bit of Kabbalah, from what I understand, but then I don't know what he did wrong. I'm not sure. I'm not that biblical. Did something wrong and went his own way. And yeah, he had followers, just like they say Satan did. You know what I'm saying? Satan had followers too, didn't he? That's what they want you to believe. So just like Satan, this Yeshua took and had followers, and he's a Jewish guy, and people want to claim that he's the savior. So you're taking this guy that Constantine took the Bible and changed it and said in the New Testament that this guy came from Mary. And by the way, we don't really know how she got pregnant. It was immaculate. Sounds pretty paranormal to me, but most people aren't willing to think of it that way. Oh no, Jesus is God in the flesh and the Holy Spirit and the Trinity. No, he's not. There is only one God, and he's a jealous God. And he's said to have no gods before him, and yet you do. I'm not blaming you. I'm not dissing you, because I did it too until I got uncomfortable with it and he taught me otherwise. It's when you continue to research because your gut is telling you something's not right. Why am I saying, forgive me for saying this, in the name of Jesus when I'm praying? Why? Why? You don't. Because since 1776, and that's, I say that because that's what we're sold in America, is the freedom that comes along with the price, right? The price of our sons and daughters and dads and uncles and brothers and everybody dying, what, to run the war machine because they say I have to protect something that they're running? No. Anyway, you guys, when I asked, and this is important, why and how the world could be lied to, why he is the creator, and I want to be respectful, would allow us to be lied to, it was because each person, each soul, is responsible for finding their own DNA soul connection to the creator. You are not allowed to put it on reverend, deacon, bishop, whoever you want to call yourself. You're not allowed to put your soul in their hands. You're not. You can get wisdom from wise people. There's nothing wrong with searching and getting some wisdom from them, but you are your own soul, and you're just not allowed to put your soul into other people's hands like that. You don't do it in marriage. You don't put your kids in certain daycares, or schools. You do what you can. You don't put your holy soul in somebody else's book and let them tell you what's what. You're supposed to find it for yourself, and that's what I did. I cannot help who I am and the fact that because of my lineage and family names that I'm like this remnant of a person that could hear this stuff, you guys. I don't know if it it doesn't make me anything. It makes me think about what I am, but if I'm like an alien or something, or if I died and some way came back, because I was told some things about how I've never died and how my soul was real clean, and that the creator would be able to use my vessel because I had prayed my whole life that I connected to him, and I have a purpose and I can't help it. I'm not apologizing for it. Anyway, the plan was his so that he can expose himself, is what I wanted to come here and say. There's a lot of, it was his, and by way of the plan being his, he went through a lot of pain, and I mean physical, awful, horrendous pain that you can hear in the songs Endorphin Machine. I mean, you guys, any song where he's screaming, and in fact, one of these magazines has an article in the back where he's called the Scream Machine, and I mentioned it before, as with the D1X German MK Ultra drugs for torturing for human endurance. The screaming that you hear in the song was real, and the Merovingian bloodline is real. The fact that there is an NWO out there that wants to control your soul is very real, no matter what they hit my videos with their Wikipedia tags. Everything that I'm saying is very real, and if you're not willing to look into it, I honestly don't know what to say to you anymore, because you can tell by listening to me and looking at me that I'm not lying. You can tell by listening to me that, like I said, I have a dose of intelligence. I've given up my family, friends, home, life, everything to do exactly what Hashem, the creator, tells me to do. And that's what I'm going to do forever and ever. Amen. He did it this way because of the time, you guys, and it gave the others something to sell. Um, the persona, the Paisley Park, the Prince effect that they're doing in Chicago now, or whatever it's called. Um, all the things they say, oh, Prince wanted a museum, Dolly Parton wanted a museum, Michael Jackson wanted Never Never Land, whatever. Okay, these things aren't even real. They're just all a huge distraction. When I spoke to the creator, he told me that he was the band. He's all of them. He's everything. He's anything he wants to be. And this plan, this breakdown is so that he can show who he is. But the thing is, you guys, the whole John 3:16 thing is because when I went back to, let me say this, when I said how could the whole world be lied to and told that, it was because it goes back to the snow globe world that we live in. He said, in a way, this is the only best way I can describe it. These are not his words verbatim. Said that this world that we think is so real is just like I want to call it a practice world. Our souls are like entrapped in these flesh vessels as part of the curse of Adam and Eve and so forth. But the vessels that we're in, they can't, it's like you could put somebody into jail, but you can't do away with oh, you can't take my spirit. No, you cannot take my holy soul. So you can put someone in prison, which is this living hell that we're in now, but you can't take the soul. So when you die like I did and your soul goes elsewhere and gets told all these things, you stop thinking anything about this world. So what he said is this practice world that we're in is because he couldn't give, well, he could do, but didn't want to or couldn't because people they don't deserve it to have everything all at once. Like I said, it's the only best way I can remember it is that things are much harder in the afterworld. This life, you're on your own. So you have to do the best you can with the soul that you're in while you're here to like earn your way into the other world. And you don't have to do all the things that the Christian and those other Bibles tell you to do. That's not what I'm saying. I always want to make that clear. But you are responsible for finding the Creator and treating him with reverence and awe and talking to him like your best friend because he's really cool. And he suffers with you. He rejoices with you. He laughs with you. He feels pain with you. When you're deviant, he's deviant with you because he's in your DNA and he's in your soul. So you can wear the WWJD bracelet, but what would you really do if you knew your Creator was sitting right next to you? I'm doing what he tells me to do. What are you doing? This world is just a practice world. So in the next world, and all these worlds that we've been through since however long, I'm not sure, your soul has to do teshuvah, which is correction. And there are 613 mitzvot in the Hebrew, which is the opposite of 319 and 316. There's a twist on all the words. Like I said, Filah is prayer, and it's on our tennis shoes. Halakha is Jewish rules. And we have Hayakalea out in Maui. So there's a twist on that too, but that's not for this video. I want to show you guys something before I part with you. If you're still questioning my anything, I still want you to know that I'm just doing this because what I'm told to do. It's why I listened to the music for 39 years. 39 egg. Okay. Listen, the one, Prince was known for saying, I am music, right? I am music. Now, my family name on the maternal side is Miske, Miske. Music, Miske. You can say, yeah, so what? Prince and Pride. You know how he would make the N look like a CI? You see how Prince and Pride look the same? Now, if you take music and you take out the vowels, you have you and I. Not only is I am music, you and I, because our DNA is his DNA. It's you and I. The family name Miske, if you take out the vowels, you have IE. If you take out the vowels in Prince, you have IE. If you take out the vowels in Pride, you have IE or 19. You see how the IE looks like a 19 or a 16. Okay? This is how gematria works, you guys. It flows. It flows all the time. So, is it 81? Is it 91? Is it 16? Is it 19? Or is it pi? Or is it PI? Because Prince and Pride, the ride, the IE, it's the 19. And that's why I woke up in the spring of 2020 with the COVID-19 because of all the coding and all the things I was told when I died. I've told you before, I grew up listening to music. It surrounds me 24/7. Anybody who knows me can vouch for that. And it's also what I was told when I died, that it had something to do with who I was. Also, you guys, the last name Pride. On a driver's license, it's P63. Those are the first three. Look at your driver's license, the first three digits. Mine is P63 or 369. So I'm not trying to be totally cool because I already am. Funky even when I ain't. But what I mean to say is I'm asking you guys to listen to me and to watch the videos because he is going to show himself. And when he does, you can get a leg up on knowing him. You can get a leg up on talking to him and praying to him and making him your friend. And when you do, you feel him. You feel him. He's going to let you feel him. He's going to help you with your problems. You're going to hear him. Everything has a time, you guys, and this is the time. And in America, Merked, they want us to have a broken down creator. They want us not to believe in ourselves, to believe in each other, and most definitely not to believe in our creator. Because when you look around the world, it's like, so we need to pray for him and we need to bring him and we need to ask him to come and we need to be worthy for him to come, you guys. And like I said, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I just, for anybody that's listened this long, I want you to know that when I got baptized in 94 or whatever it was, man, I came up out of the water. I love Jesus. Me. Okay. I didn't know any better. But what he told me also was like all the time that I spent praying, which wasn't very often, but the time that I'm like, wait, I called on the wrong name. I feel what? Once you realize that the world has twisted the Bible and packaged it and put it on the back of the trash truck and in the jails and in the hotel, drawers. And then they give all the write-offs to all the Joel Osteens and TD Jakes and all those people out there, you guys. It's a program. Skagazines, Hellivision, Men in Black, they flash away your memory, your Facebook, everything that you do is your intellectual property. So you are making up your own life. You are responsible for what you do with your life. Not John 3:16, not your neighbor, not your naughty kids, you. I think sometimes it's too much for most people to handle that they are that important to God or that they're that important to anybody, but you are. You really, really are. So I wouldn't be here if you weren't. It's my sole purpose to let you know that you are. And I love you guys, and I'm going to go. And I hope you enjoyed today. Okay? I got to go.